which is a bonkers thing.
I've just been given a signal from our producer that we've got a game of Old School ready to go.
I think we should go over to the feature match area and
let's
see
go to
what
the
nonsense is about to ensue then.
Here we are. Hilariously, as if it were a setup, my two co-hosts on Anything But Standard, Renfield 286 and Chrisselbrand.
So is it required to have a name with 2 C's to be on this team?
Well, I don't.
So are you the mascot? You're the token non-CC?
Apparently, it was a complete accident. I mean, me and Renfield had the idea to start the podcast probably 6 months ago, and we only brought Chris on 6 weeks ago or so. Okay. So I think it's just coincidence, but
it's an entertaining one, and I can't wait to see what shenanigans are about to ensue.
We are playing Anything But Standard.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say is also, this isn't a fast format. As we said, like, the removal is so good that the removal relative to the quality of the creatures is generally pretty good. There are obviously some ways you can go aggro, but I mean, that's the kind of hand that you don't see very often. Some disenchants, a Chaos Orb.
main deck disenchant, main deck Chaos Orb. Yeah. I think we're in for a treat here.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos Orb has some special rules for this format to avoid some of the logistical problems that Chaos Orb used to cause back in the day. For those who are not a million years old, Chaos Orb is a card that has to be flipped onto the table from a height of at least a foot, and then must spin at least once fully around in the air before it lands, and then when it lands, it destroys any permanents it touches.
We see a little rock, paper, scissors to decide who starts there.
In this format, is limited to destroying one permanent. Because otherwise what happens is everyone plays with their lands and
spread out
creatures
across the table.
Spread out as far across the table as you can possibly manage.
Lands on your knees.
Yeah, lands at least 2 or 3 inches away from each other.
Yeah, non-creature permanents sort of balanced on your opponent's shoulders. I've heard the stories.
See, this looks more like a sort of commander card. I'll start. Scrub land into Soul Ring into Felwar Stone. I'm going to untap with
and we're going to strip mine into strip your scrub land. No coloured spells for you, Chrisselbrand.
Yeah, this is a format where you can strip your opponent's land on turn 1 and they still untap with 3 mana. Although Felwar Stone at the moment not doing much. It taps for a land, taps for a mana of your colour your opponent's lands could produce, I believe.
So exactly nothing right now.
Yeah. Got a backup scrub land.
And I should point out to anyone observing this at home, Chrisselbrand's deck is not entirely black border. He is cheating. I happen to know that his perfect fit sleeves are actually black bordered. He's not quite that rich.
Yeah, not many people are quite rich enough to be able to build a black bordered 93-94 deck. But I mean, Craig is showing that you can be aggressive with the Mighty Flying Men. 1 mana for a 1/1 blue creature with flying.
I mean that's considered good value by today's standards.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, Cloud Sprites have seen play in more reasonable standard formats.
So there's a Mox Ruby, so
that seems okay. You know, what could he be doing with this Mox Ruby? Do you think there's going to be a Scroll Rack or a Time Vault or a...
There appears to be a giant
strength on my Flying Man.
Wow.
See, that's the mana-fixing power of City of Brass, everyone.
It was worth taking a damage for.
But one of the things that's worth mentioning about these older sets is the flavor's wonderful. I mean, the Arabian Nights set particularly is just dripping with bits and pieces of sort of
Alibaba
nuggets
and the 40
of
Thieves
lore
and Aladdin.
Yeah, there's Shahrazad. It's all very much inspired by the Arabian Nights.
There is the Chaos Orb.
There is the Chaos Orb. So that'll be aiming at the those flying men, I would imagine, but we'll have to see if you can actually hit them.
So it might be possible to get a 2-for-1 with the Chaos Orb here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the Arabian Nights set inspired very much by the 1001 Nights, and also a couple of the cards from the some of the Neil Gaiman Sandman stories. The City in a Bottle, I think, was a Gaiman reference more than an Arabian Nights reference. There's a lovely black-bordered Force Spike there. There's a Brain Geezer. There's an Ancestral Recall. Yeah. Yeah. So disenchant on the Giant Strength. Going to slow down those ferocious beats. Craig
and
pondering.
There's a Force Spike. Chrisselbrand is willing to play. Renfield deciding that he wants to tax his opponent's mana there. I'll be interested to see exactly why.
The Desert, of course, which can deal a point of damage to a creature, attacking creature, I believe after it's done its damage.
After it's done its damage, yeah.
Reprinted, I think, most recently in Time Spiral as one of the time-shifted cards in that set. Chris just building up his mana for now. But of course, Craig does have the opportunity to refill just a bit once he does decide to. It looks like he has a Serendib of. Is that Serendib of Freet? Is that the?
Yep, I believe
the correct art for the Serendib of Freet, rather than the most widely printed version of Serendib of Freet. Unfortunately, was printed with the wrong art. The revised edition version had the art from Ifbif of Freet.
And for anyone who's lucky enough to have had a look in our display cabinet here at the Pro Series in Birmingham, there is a Summer Magic Serendib of Freet in there.
Which does have the correct. Oh no, it has the. So Chaos Orb
right
held
up
up right for the camera for us.
And it missed. Well, you can't have it all.
That's not something you're going to see on most Magic coverage.
I don't think we'll have that when we get back to Modern. This black-white control deck?
This black-white deck.
Black-white magic deck? Well, there's a third City of Brass from Ren.
So Craig is currently Craig's biggest enemy.
Craig able to clock himself a lot more significantly than Chris
with Serendib of Freet dealing with himself a point a turn, and all of 3 of his mana sources and 4 of his lands dealing himself a point every time he uses them. I guess I should Ancestral Recall and try and find a way to speed up the clock on my opponent.
Renfield says, Ancestral targeting me, being very clear. And there's a Volcanic Island, which will hopefully be able to make his mana a little bit less painful. Unfortunately, after he's made his land drop for the turn.
What was that, 2 lightning bolts and a chain lightning?
I believe it was a big old wodge of burn. Yeah, I think
still
one lightning bolt, a chain lightning, and a Volcanic Island with a draw.
And he still has that Brain Geyser. But looks like Serendib's going to be coming in to try and even up those life totals a bit.
You can tell these players really enjoying this game as well. Very animated body language.
Well, we are too. Oh,
there's a sinkhole for a City of Brass.
Chris just slowed down his clock. I don't know why he did that. His opponent's going to take himself all the way on his own.
That's going to feel quite bad when the Volcanic Island comes into play next turn.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Chris choosing to take out the tapped City of Brass. I suppose wanting his opponent to tap them for the damage.
That blood. Yep. That's Bloodlust, I think, on the. Which gives a creature +4, -4, but won't kill it. So it will reduce its toughness down to as far as 1.
That's Serendib of Freet representing a very real clock right now.
Yeah. Going to deal 7 with the Serendib.
And then get deserted.
Desert will take it out, but that puts Chris alarmingly close to being burned out.
With Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning in hand.
Yeah.
I would be quite uptight in this situation if I was Mr. Crystalbrand. So there's a disenchant for the Ruby. And Ren's probably feeling like he's got it all here. I think we might see it. Bolt you.
Bolt you again.
Bolt you.
Chain lightning you.
Sit back in the chair. Love it. And was that a Wrath of
Still
God?
had all these Brain Geysers.
Yeah.
Still could have drawn any number of cards whenever I felt like it. 2, I mean, by any number.
Any number between 0 and 2.
Yeah.
So that's some old school Magic for you. For anyone watching at home, please let us know in the comments of the Twitch stream what you think of old school and how you've enjoyed this.
Because the organisers of this tournament approached us actually to ask if they could run a side event here at the Pro Series, and we thought, you know what, seems like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And see if we can.
And we're all about encouraging people to do strange and interesting things with their Magic cards.
We can bring down some singles that are appropriate for the format, so we can give them some interesting options as prizes on our prize wall. But no, I mean it's kind of what we want these Pro Series events to be. I mean, the main events are definitely competitive events. I mean, they're high prizes, serious levels of competition, lots of powerful decks around. But we always have a lot of people coming here for the side events. We love seeing people here playing oddball formats like this. I mean, that's one of the things we're looking forward to at Blackpool, is seeing what kind of craziness we can get up to when we have 3 full days and a big room full of players. But yeah, it's great to see cards of this vintage, if you'll excuse the awful pun, getting some air. Because I mean, as we said, the power gets played all the time. I mean, quote real vintage plays a lot of the same cards as this format, but
now sometimes, as a coverage professional, you'll encounter cards that you maybe can't remember the name of, or can't quite, I know that artwork, but I can't quite recall what card it is. When you watch these games play, you just straight up don't know what a lot of the cards are. It's
Speak for
really
yourself.
good fun. I'm having a great time here. The last time I saw these cards, I was an actual child, and I haven't played with them since. I don't remember what most of them do. This is wonderful to watch for me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at something like Quambarge Witches, it's like, oh yes, that card exists.
Yeah, really good example.
But yeah, I mean, so far there's been one card in the main event that I've had to look up because it was a copy of Down and Dirty in the sideboard of the Brain in a Jar deck.
Clever.
And that one I had to double check that it was actually a real Magic card. And yes, there is a Magic card called Down/Dirty. But
from Dissension?
Yeah, it's one of the Fuse cards. One of the less played Fuse cards.
I believe it's just a split one, isn't it? It doesn't actually have Fuse. Fuse was only the second iteration of split cards, if I remember correctly.
Oh, maybe. But it's got Electric Eel here from Craig, which is a anemic blue creature that can spend up to 2 red mana to pump itself up. That's going to get eaten by the desert right away. So the classic opening of Mishra's Factory into desert here for Chris.
And finally we have
the Sicilian Gambit, as we like to call it.
The factory eating
greedy Mishra's Factory attack runs straight into a bolt.
Oh, I think they've rewound there for a second.
Oh.
For some reason that card went back into Renfield's hand, and I'm a little confused as to exactly what happened there. Renfield making it very easy for us to know what he's targeting.
Maybe he just decided that he didn't want to bother killing the Mishra's Factory. I don't know. We're playing a little faster and looser with 93, 94 in the feature match
Exactly,
area.
everyone's here to have fun.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the desert and the plains, Chris Cooper's board would almost look like a vintage board. Oh, there's a Demonic Tutor.
Well,
so what is going to get the most powerful broken card in all of 93, 94?
What will it be?
It's probably not going to be Yawgmoth's Bargain.
I
don't think that was quite around at the
it's not
time.
going to be Gristlebrand.
Probably not going to be Necropotence.
Doomsday.
Oh, here he goes.
It's a good one to DT for.
Could be Jayemdai Tome. You know, power cards of your...
It might be still my beating heart. Well, he's slow rolling himself, leaving it face down on the table. He's obviously got something to do with it, but...
hopefully he's going to showboat for the cameras, if nothing else. I think that's the Abyss.
Is it the Abyss? A quick flash of it looked a bit like Terror, and then as soon as you said it, I think you're right.
Oh, Flying Men, and there's an unstable mutation in Craig's hand for next turn. So he's going to be able to get that astonishingly fast aggro deck going. Unfortunately, those Flying Men are about to fly straight into the Abyss, which is a 4-mana Enchant World, which is a creature, a card type we don't see anymore. So it's kind of like a legendary enchantment, but the rules are that there can only be one world enchantment
Unfortunately,
in
the
play
best
at
way
all.
I've found of describing them to newer players is they're like stadium cards in Pokemon TCG. That's really the only way I've been able to communicate effectively what they are.
So basically, if there's an enchant world in play, then if another enchant world comes into play, you bury the first one.
Yeah.
So you can only have one card of that type around. And what the Abyss does, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, it destroys a non-artifact creature they control. So it locks down creature decks very quickly.
Especially in this format, where creature decks seem to be made of a core of good creatures backed up with pump
Much
spells.
better. Yeah. Bad creatures backed up by okay pump spells, backed up by amazing burn. Yeah, you get to play 4 lightning bolts and 4 chain lightnings. Unfortunately, you also have to play 4 flying men. And 4 copies of giant
I feel
strength.
like I'm being much more generous towards old school than you are.
Oh, I love these cards. It's just one of the things I like about this format the most is how the discrepancy in power level between all of the cards still combines to make a fun format. Because in real Magic, you never see Flying Man and the Abyss being played within a mile of each other. But here,
yeah.
it all fits together. There's Greed. Well, so we didn't have Necropotent, so you almost bargained, but we have not quite the next best thing, but the next best thing.
It'll do.
It'll do. Still cheaper than JM Tome.
And we'll probably draw more cards.
Yep. Although I joke about JM Tome, it actually was a really important card in early Magic. I mean, those slow, clunky card advantage engines, back when the card pool was much smaller. I mean, the first deck that is sort of thought of as being one of the first sort of really designed, built decks was very heavy on cards like Disrupting Scepter and JM Tome for building up the hitherto unknown concept of card advantage.
So it looks like there's a factory coming in to darken Renfield's doorway and nibble a few life points away.
And of course, the fact that factory isn't a creature at the beginning of your upkeep means that it has for many years played very well with the Abyss. It's one of the win conditions you'd use with the Abyss to sort of beat down your opponent.
Because of course it's only an artifact creature when you need it to be, not when the Abyss cares about it.
And there's Brain Geezer for Craig. Not sadly castable off a single mountain. It looks like the full lock is in effect here. Now, a deck that I used to actually own and play in sort of quite casual vintage was Nethervoid.
Okay.
And I'd kind of like to see some Nethervoid action in 93-94, which was another world enchantment, but this one said spells cost an extra 3 or they get countered.
Yeah, I had a very interesting game of Commander recently where the table was under a Nethervoid lock, finger quotes, for quite a few turns, and then I cast the new Sphinx from
Sphinx of the Final Word.
Sphinx of the Final Word, and proceeded to make that Nethervoid feel quite inadequate.
See, back in those days, the range of uncounterable threats was a bit smaller. Yeah. So I could ritual out my Phyrexian Negator on turn 1 and ritual out my Nethervoid on turn 2, and people wouldn't do anything rude like cast a 7-mana 5/5 untargetable uncounterable guy. Yeah, Mistress Factory still clocking in. I mean, Mistress Factory is a card that is genuinely a very powerful Magic card. And
by any metric.
Yeah. Like has seen plenty of play in Legacy, somewhat supplanted by Mutavault, just because of the number of creature decks that are tribal decks.
Exactly.
But
Renfield electing to cast about the only thing he can cast, which is a Shatter, targeting that Mox.
I think a Detonate even. I think if it was a Shatter, it would have gone for the Factory, but Detonate being a X and red sorcery to destroy a target artifact with cost X or less, I believe, and deal its casting cost and damage to the controller, something along those lines. So not even good old Shatter, but the slightly more awkward sorcery speed version. Good for killing Juggernauts and James Tomes, not quite so good for killing Mistress Factories. Oh, so he can Geezer for 1 now.
Okay, well...
Or he can try and assemble something else, but those creatures are all... He's going to have to play multiple creatures in 1 turn if he wants to actually get to attack with anything, just because of the Abyss.
And there's a plough.
That does tick him up a little bit on life. Is that Mirror Universe on Chris Cooper's side of the board as well?
Chris having it all here.
Wait, what is that? Oh no, it's trying to work out what the card on the bottom left of.
Yeah, I can't figure it out myself.
Is it Mirror Universe? That would make sense, but. It's not Mirror Universe. I'll try and work out what that card is, but there's Maze of Ith, another card that is actually a Legacy All-Star.
Oh, things are certainly looking bad for our hero.
So much unnecessary removal being played.
Yeah, Renfield says, "Yeah, I think you got me." Is that a game 3 now that we go to?
It would be, yes. That, of course, being the two of the different arts for Mishra's Factory, which was a card that was printed with 4 different arts corresponding to the 4 seasons. So it's a big sort of factory tree. One of them with the sort of leaves browning, one of them covered in snow.
Much like the Urzatron lands that we may well see some of today.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe I have seen a few copies of the 4 seasons.
Yeah,
Urzatron
we had
lands
a red-green Tron deck in the feature match area earlier. He was playing sort of single arts of the Antiquities ones, but he wasn't playing the full set of 4.
So here we go with game 3 in this special feature match of 93-94, brought to you from the Magic Madhouse Pro Series in Birmingham.
City of Brass, Black Lotus. This is more like it.
Here we go.
We had to see one at least once.
Renfield is going off.
Turn 1 Serendipity Freak. Off you go. Didn't even have to tap a City of Brass.
Yeah, that was just for free.
Now, as long as it doesn't go farming, Craig could be onto something this game. And he does have 4 spike up, so he's not completely defenseless.
Electing to hold up 4 spike instead of casting that flying man as well.
Oh, absolutely.
He's seen the amount of removal his opponent has. He knows to respect it.
It's a Nevinyrral's disc in Chris's hand. There's a balance, it looks like.
Yep, I see a balance. I
There's
see a strip mine, I see a
Brass.
desert, yep. I see an artifact I don't recognise.
The old balance as edict gets 4 spiked.
Renfield says, "No thank you, I would like to attack you." Things definitely looking a bit better for him this game.
Yeah.
As Chris drops down to 14. And there's Chris showing us that amazing mana base again with his with his scrubland strip mine desert. There's a bolt. The City of Brass deciding it needs to do something useful before it goes. And a DT. Now, this could be where Chris starts to turn the game around. He has set Renfield to 0 mana from his very strong start. And he has just DT'd, which means he probably has an answer to the Djinn now. The Ifrit, sorry.
But he is also dropping perilously low in life. Yeah, it looks like when to get swords.
Yeah. And you can't argue with that decision making. There's a Chaos Orb there as well, so...
So Chris, out of immediate danger, but within burn range. If Craig can find a couple of land and dig a bit for a couple more of those bolts. Or he could just keep drawing non-lands.
Very, very unfortunate, because this game was actually going really, really well for Craig.
Yeah, this is the hidden downside of keeping the one-land Black Lotus hand in a format full of strip mines and sinkholes.
Quite. I think Grimfield actually has it in hand. I think he has enough burn there just to finish Chris off. He just needs to be able to cast it.
His Icy Manipulator, the best art for that card. None of this Ice Age rubbish.
So, bolt you. You're at 4. The race is definitely on.
This reminds me of a match we just watched in a entirely different format. Some things never change. One of them is Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. Lightning Bolt, the timeless masterpiece.
Oh, there's a Fireball. Particularly powerful with that that one land. Fuel it.
Fireball you for 0. It's quite good, right?
And of course the classic interaction of Icy Manipulator and City of Brass. Meaning that Chris has a win condition now because his opponent played a land.
Renfield on a 15-turn clock because of that Icy Manipulator.
Mind Twist.
Well, let's twist again.
Like we did 20 summers ago. So he's twisting for 2. Going to hit Fireball and Flying Men.
Quite an appropriate pun as well, considering that 1994 is the year of release for Summer Magic.
So we're seeing a Chain Lightning here. Take Chris down to 1.
Yep.
Of course, the life gain options not necessarily numerous for Chris.
No.
The best card he could possibly have at this point is Mirror Universe.
Well, his City of Brass has been turned off.
Yeah.
I believe that was a Disenchant drawn, which doesn't help. So just go in with the factory. And Ren at 13 with a lot of live draws here.
Oh, there's another City of Brass. Maybe that's the problem with his lands. He's only actually put 4 City of Brass and some Volcanic Islands. Like Electric Eel threatening to run away with this game.
It will be good enough. If it gets to attack, it will be good enough.
If only he could attack through Icy Manipulator and Mishra's Workshop. Mishra's Factory.
Here's Chris
Another
again
cold
with his
shot
Orb
Chaos Orb
shenanigans. And he missed again.
Yeah, players do have to call their shots with Chaos Orb, so there's no accidental collateral damage. Which is good, because otherwise his own Icy Manipulator would have been in trouble. This may be the only time you will ever see a Wrath of God used to take out a single Electric Eel on camera.
It's probably worth me mentioning at this point that we have reached time on the round in our main event, and I can see Mr. Willoughby looking at feature matches with the judges over there. So we will be bringing you a feature match from our main event quite soon.
Sad as you may be to leave 93-94 behind.
We may just yet get to finish this game. Let's not be hasty.
Oh no, we'll definitely finish the game, but sadly we won't be bringing you more matches necessarily.
Well,
and this could be
there's a Detonate.
See, this is where Detonate's better than Shatter.
I believe this Detonate wins the game on its own.
Yep, this Detonate once he gets 2 more mana, he can kill that Icy Manipulator and Chris.
When's the last time you said Detonate you for lethal?
I don't know if I ever have, actually. Unfortunately, I don't think Craig will actually get to either because he needs 5 mana to kill that
Sinkhole
Icy Manipulator.
definitely making his life a lot worse.
If Chris could just play an artifact that costs 1 or 2. Oh, Power Sink. That's makes Chris pay up to extra mana for his spell, or it's countered. He can pay, of course, but he can't pay using City of Brass. That would be careless. He's going to tap his Desert and his Mishra's Factory.
There it is.
Oh.
It's over.
Oh.
It's over. Chris froze his hands up in the air. Wow, that was some magic.
Let's bring it back to the booth, and we will take a minute here to recollect ourselves before
Yeah,
we...
shall we just stretch out a little and...
Yeah, so we've got the final round of the Swiss coming up.
Yes.
So Tim will have picked us out a feature match, and we'll be able to have a look at some deck lists in just a minute. We hope you enjoyed that brief interlude. We didn't get to see the Bring to Light deck do its thing in quite the way we wanted, but we got to see something quite magical instead.
I feel like the 93-94 game was reasonable consolation prize.
I'm always happy. I would have liked to see a few more of those classic old school creatures, some Serras, some Sengers. But
Serra Angel, an actual win condition.
there's a very happy
format.
man walking past the
As we see Chris,
the booth.
Probably one of the only players we'll see grinning ear to ear today after
Let's
just
see if we
losing.
can take a look at the deck, and we can show some of the cards that you might expect to see in this format. I don't know if you want to sort of take half and pick out any favourites.
Here we are then.
So JM Date Home, we talked about it earlier. Definitely a key component of this kind of format.
There we are. Look, the only format where Black Knight is main deckable. Oh, sorry,
no,
I've got the sideboard here.
Even in 93-94, Black Knight is
it's
not
main deckable. I take it back.
And Greed is. That tells you something about Black Knight.
Pestilence, EDH win condition.
A lovely crimped Ring of Immortals, which can be tapped to counter target interrupt or enchantment, ladies and gentlemen. So if you can find any interrupts, then you can...
Chris, of course, quite well known as a collector of oddities. And
yeah, there's some wonderful
cards.
some wonderful miscuts and misprints and crimped stuff in here. Let's see if we can find that artifact that I spotted earlier that I had no idea what it was, because that doesn't happen that often. Let's see. Golgothian Silex, of course, yes.
Of course.
It's a 4-cost artifact that says it can be activated and says all cards from the Antiquities expansion, including Golgothian Silex, must be discarded from play. So, yeah, if you need to...
And Gauntlets of Chaos was the other one that was catching us out. So,
Gauntlets of Chaos, another wonderful card that definitely does some things and has lots of words on it. That you sacrifice it to steal one of your opponent's permanents and give your opponent another permanent of the same type. So you're giving them one card and sacrificing Gauntlets and paying 10 mana, but you do get to steal one of their things.
Well, it must be worth it. I mean, Chris couldn't have cast it quicker.
Well, exactly. No.
There we are, sir. There's your deck back. Thank you very much for the entertainment, gentlemen.
Yep, and hope you enjoy the rest of the day.